Hi, what is up, guys? Today I'm talking about a movie that just came out recently called Detective Pikachu, a movie that us 20-something-year-olds have been waiting for their entire lives. So, let's get into it. First and foremost, if you guys aren't familiar with Pokemon, then you are probably really fucking confused about this movie. You probably have no idea what this is, or what the world is, or who these creatures are. But if you are familiar with Pokemon, then this movie is a great payoff for us fans of Pokemon, this cartoon series, the games, the trading cards. The world is huge. Detective Pikachu stars Justice Smith as Tim Goodman and Ryan Reynolds as Detective Pikachu, and I think that this movie is so cute. I know I'm just jumping the gun and I am just getting right into it, but this movie is cute as fuck. I could not stop myself from going, oh, every 5 minutes, anytime Pikachu was on screen, it was a delight. The best part of this movie is the Pokemon, and I think that is what makes this movie exactly what it needs to be. I know a lot of people are going to put the argument out that video game movies are a failure, and they have not been successful ever. The last movie that we can all trace back to being somewhat successful or somewhat accurate to the source material is Mortal Kombat. I know that we've been waiting for a successful video game movie adaptation, and I think that this is the closest that we are going to get as of now. Speaking on the cuteness of this movie, I think the heavy reliance on Pokemon driving this movie and driving the interest for this movie is a very smart move, because when you have Pokemon in a movie, they do not skimp out on showing you that there are Pokemon in this movie and that this is a world where they exist. I loved how the Pokemon were integrated into everyday life and they had practical use. You see Squirtles working as firefighters, you see Machokes or Machamps working as traffic directors, and you see Mr. Mime working at a restaurant, and Ludicolo working at a bar, which is just to kind of give you guys some foresight, is that this movie is somewhat adult in some areas, and I know that Ryan Reynolds being the voice of Pikachu, there's going to be a lot of comparisons to Deadpool. I felt that too, but there is going to be some stuff that might go way over the heads of certain kids, but for us adult fans, we're going to appreciate it. But at the same time, I think that's just one little minor nitpick I would say, is that sometimes it's just like, well, what's the tone here? What are we going for? Is this a kid's movie? But other than that, you just kind of work past that and you're like, this is a fucking Pokemon movie. I've been waiting for this shit for 20 years, so whatever, I don't care anymore. I love the Neo Tokyo noir style of it, with all the neon lights and just kind of dimly lit rooms and that kind of atmosphere. I really enjoyed that, and I think that really lended to this movie because it is a detective piece. It's a movie about a mystery and about a whodunit, and I think that was really cool. If you want a movie that's gritty and realistic and something that's as close as to, what would happen if Pokemon actually existed in our world, then I think this really does come closest to that. And I think if it went any further into being gritty, it would just be kind of disturbing and frankly disgusting. I don't need to see a Machoke injecting steroids at a gym or a Jinx snorting coke off a Squirtle to know that I am in a world where Pokemon are integrated into reality. And if I saw that shit, maybe it'd be pretty funny. I don't know. I'd laugh, but that's not the tone that they're setting here, and I think they hit that note quite perfectly with balancing how would this work and how would it be approached realistically and how would real people interact with them. And I love that. And like I said, I really love that. Another thing I really liked about this movie is how meta they were with the scope of what Pokemon is in our world and how it would affect their world and their reality within this movie. It's really cool because in that world, Pokemon battles are basically held as the Super Bowl, when there's literally a poster that looks exactly like a Super Bowl poster, but it's for Pokemon battles. It's the craziest shit. They have Pokemon trading cards just like we have baseball cards. It's wild. They managed to take the merchandise for Pokemon from our world and integrate it into theirs, and I think it was a really smart move, and I think it was a really fun nod, and it was really funny to see Tim's childhood room just littered with Pokemon stuff, Pokemon paraphernalia, and it's just that's what our rooms used to look like. I mean, mine not so much because we didn't have that much money, but for you rich kids out there, you're gonna really love Tim's room. Also, the fact that there are underground Pokemon battles where there are no rules at all, I thought that was really fun, and adds to the kind of gritty noir nature of it all. And it was cool to see Diplo. I guess they're very generous and they gave Diplo a line, so kudos, Diplo. All right, so I'm going to just move straight into spoiler territory. And I know you're like, it's a Pokemon movie. It's a kid's movie. Is there really spoilers? Yeah, Yeah, a little bit. Let me just get straight into the wildest shit I have seen in cinema this year, and I just saw Endgame, so let's get into this. In this movie, there's a corporation that basically works on Pokemon and human relations and whatnot. They're like a media mogul company. I have no idea what they really do. It's not important at all. But in this movie, there's a corporate bad guy, and there's his son, and well, you don't find out he's bad till the third act of this movie, but you see it coming a mile away. There's no way that he's not going to be the bad guy, so that's not really a spoiler. But his evil plot is bananas. So basically, Bill Nye, as the corporate bad guy, he's paralyzed from the waist down, and he wants to steal the evil plot from Get Out by making humans into Pokemon, because that is the next step in evolution for humankind. That is the cartooniest shit I have ever seen, and I love it. Also, in the end of the movie, we find out that the reason why Detective Pikachu has lost his memory is because Mewtwo has the ability to make humans into Pokemon, which I don't even know if that's canon, but for this movie, you just gotta throw all logic out the window. You find out that Ryan Reynolds is actually in this movie, not just as a voice, but he is the corporeal father of Tim Goodman, who is the main character in this movie. And by the way, let's just talk about Tim for a second. Tim is... he's kind of a dumbass throughout this movie. He makes some of the dumbest choices, and he does some of the dumbest things, where sometimes it could be seen as charming, and sometimes he could just be like, this is the most ignorant person I have ever seen. And there are some jumps in logic. Like I said, it's a Pokemon movie, so you gotta suspend some disbelief. But there is a point where Detective Pikachu falls from the sky from a probably like 50 stories high, and Tim is at pretty much like the 45th floor. And while Detective Pikachu falls, the moment Detective Pikachu is on the ground, Tim miraculously scales down 45 floors or whatever to get down to Pikachu roughly around the same time. And I know this happens a lot in movies where, you know, they gotta do things fast. We're not gonna have a 5-minute scene dedicated to seeing Tim run down the stairs, but what? That didn't make any sense to me, but whatever, you know, it's a Pokemon movie. But yeah, like I said, Ryan Reynolds is revealed to be Tim Goodman's father, and that was something that my girlfriend actually called out. She was like, oh, dude, it's gonna be Ryan Reynolds. She said that as a joke. I applaud her because I did not see that coming, because I was like, that's gotta make Tim look like a huge dumbass if he doesn't recognize his father's voice. I know that in the movie, his father and him, they stopped talking once Tim was like around 11 years old. And, you know, Tim does have a backstory. He does have some development, so I'll give the movie that. But it's just hilarious that it's so funny. You know, you would think you'd sort of remember what your father's voice sounded like, and you'd sort of be like, you sound familiar. You sound like someone I know. No, not at all. Tim never addresses it. It never comes up, and you find out, and I was like, it's so dumb. There's no way it could happen. I thought it was going to be Will Smith or something, because they kept hiding what his dad's face looked like and all the flashbacks and all the whatever. And also with the flashbacks and the exposition, it's just choppy. It's kind of just forced, but you know, a movie like this where you have to explain the world, I get it. So I'm gonna ignore that. But yeah, Tim looks like a huge dumbass in this movie, and I mean, he's a dumbass with character development, so they give him that. But yeah, Justice Smith, he did the best with what he could work with. Also, another thing about this movie is that there's this other detective, I don't know her name either, I'll call her Detective Eyebrows because she got some thick brows, but she's got a Psyduck who basically steals every scene that Psyduck is in, but she has a character arc, sort of, but it's literally just given to her at the end of the movie. It's the funniest thing. You're just watching that in disbelief. It's crazy. You gotta see. In the end, it's not about the human characters though. It is about the Pokemans, and the Pokemans do not disappoint. They are fantastic, and I think this movie is cute as hell. I really liked it. I really enjoyed it. So I'm basically wrapping this up. I'm gonna give this movie an 8.5 out of 10. I know that's really high, and I know you guys are gonna go on Rotten Tomatoes and be like, but Rotten Tomatoes gave it like 65%. Rotten Tomatoes, man. They don't know what they're talking about. It actually, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But as a fan, if you like these movies, or not even the movies, if you like the world of Pokemon, just enjoy this movie and just feel like a kid again, because that's really what the goal of this movie is. So yeah, guys, 8.5 out of 10. What did you guys think? Did you enjoy Detective Pikachu? Have you not seen it yet? Because if you haven't, get your ass in that seat. It is definitely worth your time. Get a nice Slurpee or whatever and sit down with some popcorn and just enjoy a fun movie with cute little Pokemon. God damn it, that Bulbasaur scene was so cute, man. I was losing my mind. But yeah, anyways, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. If you haven't subscribed before, please do now. And like, comment, and share this video if you think it's worth sharing. And most of all, guys, I will see you later.